Hey everyone, so last week I had a video on the Thunderbird and the theories surrounding it prepped and ready to go, but as soon as patch 2.2 released, I quickly realized that all the information would be outdated considering the whole Tsurumi Island questline. So I totally scrapped the video and here we are with a whole new Thunderbird lore video. Also, I know I'm probably way later than all the other lore channels, but I just like to take my time to process the lore. And man, was this patch a doozy. My brain was practically exploding just thinking about everything we learned on this island. Also, before I forget, I just want to preface this video by saying that there will be spoilers in here for the Surumi Island world questline, so if you haven't done it yet, you may want to click away. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the lore. Now, the interesting thing about the Thunderbird is that her history with Tsurumi Island goes back further than the events that conspired with Rue and his people. We know this from the dialogue that we got on the 4th day of the world quest, in which she herself says, "Before you humans learned to make fire, the thundering storm had already swept across the ocean alongside me. With but a flap of my wings, purple lightning will tear through the clouds like serpents. My cry shakes the ocean depths and the heart of the earth. I have heard the songs of the trees, the strains of the cloud and rain, and the melodies sung by the green flying dragon of the far north. I have heard every trembling chorus of fox and rabbit and worm as I descended upon the land." From this dialogue, it sounds like the original home for the Thunderbird was not Tsurumi Island. According to her statement, the Thunderbird flew across the oceans. Originally, this made me wonder if she originated from the Dark Sea, but there's something else that she says that makes me doubt this. Specifically, she talks about listening to the melodies of a green flying dragon from the north. And who is this dragon she is referring to? Well, I believe that this is in reference to Dvalin. To my knowledge, out of all the dragons that we know of, none of them fit the description made by the Thunderbird except for Dvalin. Durin was a skeletal shadow dragon, and Morax took the form of a golden dragon. This leaves Dvalin as the only candidate here because we know from the prologue in Mondstadt that he has an affinity for music. Because of this, I suspect that the Thunderbird originated from the north. Regardless of this, the Thunderbird would eventually find its way to Surumi Island where it made its home. At some point, the island was inhabited by humans who built the ruins on the islands and painted the murals that we find amongst the ruins. Now, for the purpose of this video, I won't be diving into what the murals mean, but hopefully late this week or early next week, I'll put out a video breaking down what the murals are saying because it's super interesting. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. It appears that the Thunderbird coexisted peacefully with these first humans. Now, the murals don't necessarily depict the Thunderbird in them, however, there are Thunderbird carvings on the walls of the ruins. This leads me to believe that the people were at the very least aware of the Thunderbird's presence. With the passing of time, however, this civilization would anger Celestia, which resulted in them being wiped out. On day 4 of the Through the Mist questline, we see this event from the perspective of the Thunderbird, with her saying, "Once, strange objects fell from the heavens, one of which landed upon this island, after which your sky returned to its clear state. Afterward, the fog started to emerge. Though you had the power to disperse that fog, it meant little to you either way. Afterwards, those furless human beings began to gather the feathers that you shed at fixed intervals. Most puzzling behavior indeed." Without going into this event too much, it would appear that the objects sent from Celestia altered the ley lines, which I believe caused the fog to emerge on the island. This alteration of the ley lines can also be observed at Dragonspine, which went through a similar event. The damage to the ley lines and fog seemed to devastate this early civilization. Eventually, another group of humans would inhabit this island. Now, it's unclear if this group of humans were survivors from the prior civilization, or if they were humans that came from the neighboring islands of Inazuma. Either way, the knowledge of the previous civilization was lost to them, and they struggled to survive on the island, especially with the dense dark fog that blanketed the island. Blazing across the sky like a violet comet, the Thunderbird would serve as a source of light to the people, clearing the skies and bringing with it rain that the people would use to raise their crops. Oftentimes, the Thunderbird would leave behind its feathers, which the people discovered could be used as instruments to locate one another within the darkness. They would eventually create a wooden version of this known as the Maushiro, using the sounds from it to navigate the darkness of the land. The people eventually came to see the Thunderbird as their god, developing myths and legends about it. The people would go so far as to even offering human sacrifices to the Thunderbird. However, despite their best efforts, the Thunderbird would pay no mind to the people of Tsurumi Island. In fact, it would completely ignore the people, going about its day as if the people did not exist. But that would all change when Ru, a boy from the ancient tribe, sang his song on the foggy fields of Aotake Plains. On this particular day, his song would pierce the heart of the Thunderbird, bringing it down from the heavens to inspect the boy. It's from this quick interaction and conversation that the Thunderbird and Ru would develop a special bond. During their interaction, Ru would come to name the bird Kana Kapatsur. Sorry if I said that wrong. The bird would also make Ru promise to sing her a song should their paths cross again. After this encounter, Ru would run back to the village elders and tell them of his experience. Interpreting this interaction as favor from the god, the villagers believed that by sacrificing Ru, they could gain favor with the Thunderbird. Ru himself agrees with this plan and willingly offers himself as a sacrifice to the great bird. With haste, the shamans and priests perform the sacrifice ritual, storing Ru's blood within a chalice known as the Omen of the Thunderstorm from the Thundering Fury artifact set. Upon its return to Tsurumi Island, the Thunderbird discovers the boy's remains and his blood upon the altar, sending the great creature into a blind rage. It completely decimates Tsurumi Island, wiping the tribe off the face of the earth. The event is best described from the artifact Thunderbird's Mercy, which reads as follows. It witnessed the total decimation of the ancient tribe. They made their offerings, waiting for the Thunderbird to reveal the oracles. However, what descended with the Thunderbird was the lightning of destruction. For the transgression against a young lad who sang it, the sentence was total obliteration. The Thunderbird showed its true nature, wiping the tribe from the face of the earth. The force of destruction by the Thunderbird would be heard for miles away and would even result in a large-scale ley line disorder. This disorder would create a time loop that would play the events of the day over and over again for eternity. This would be the Thunderbird's curse on the island, which could only be lifted when it could hear the boy's song once again. Now, the ancient tribe wasn't completely obliterated, as Kama, one of the villagers, decided to leave the island as he disagreed with the human sacrifices to the Thunderbird. The first of his descendants lived on Surumi Island and seemed to thrive there. It was somewhere during this period of time that the Thunderbird was slain by the Raiden shogun. Again, we get confirmation of this from the present-day Kama, who tells us, "My ancestors lived on Surumi Island for a long time. Sometime later, the Thunderbird destroyed Surumi Island, and even later on, it was killed on Surumi. The island became nigh uninhabitable, so we migrated to Kanazuka." I found this quote particularly interesting because I think a lot of people assume that immediately after destroying Tsurumi Island that the Thunderbird then moved on to Surumi. However, from what Kama said, it sounded like a lengthy period of time passed before the Raiden shogun killed the Thunderbird. So then what exactly is the relationship between A and the Thunderbird? Well, I think they were friends, if not acquaintances. In one of A's cutscenes, she talks about removing all obstacles to progress, and how along the way she lost something with every step. The scene then cuts to the Thunderbird being slain, which to me indicates that A did not want to kill the great bird. There's a hint of sadness in her voice, which makes me think that she took no pleasure in taking this course of action. Interestingly, in a conversation with Ru, the Thunderbird mentions knowing a girl who I suspect is A. She specifically says, "I do not know. She gave me a name long ago, but I've forgotten it. I do not need such things, nor have any dared to summon me thusly." Now, I've seen some people say that the girl the Thunderbird mentions is someone from Celestia, but I personally doubt it. Seeing as A and the Thunderbird had to live alongside each other for at least a few hundred years, this means they were at the very minimum aware of each other and coexisting peacefully. Especially with the migratory behavior of the Thunderbird, there's no way that A would not have known about her existence. Either way, there's a confrontation that occurs between the bird and A. Now, I know there's a couple theories out there regarding what happened, but I personally think that either corrosion or the corruption from the abyss forced the Raiden shogun to put down the Thunderbird. When gods or powerful beings are slain, they leave behind their will and energy. This is something we see with Orobashi's death on Yashiori Island as well as Watatsumi Island. Also, just a side note here, Madam Ping also confirms this to us during the Moonchase Festival when we talked to her about Guoba. The nature of the energy left behind by a god is determined by their mental and emotional state prior to their death. For the Thunderbird, this resulted in a hateful energy being left behind on Seirei. This forces the people of Inazuma and the Raiden shogun into constructing the Asase Shrine, which is used to suppress the energy left behind by the Thunderbird. The shrine is then handed over to Asase Hibiki, whose job is to ensure that the energy remains contained. However, in a strange turn of events, Hibiki decides to unseal the Thunderbird's energy to save her friend Ako Domeki from the Raiden Shogun's naval forces. Unfortunately, removing the seal kills the Shrine Maiden and obliterates Amakumo Peak, leaving behind an angry energy that turns into the Thundering Manifestation. Many years later, we as a traveler go and defeat the Thundering Manifestation, receiving the feather of the Thunderbird in the process, bringing us to the present-day questline. Now, this is where I sort of diverge from what a lot of others are theorizing when it comes to the Thunderbird. So if you haven't noticed yet, I pretty much glazed over the time loop situation on Tsurumi Island. This is because I think that up until the Thunderbird's death, the time loop just kept repeating itself over and over again. I believe that after the Thunderbird's death, her wish to hear Ryu sing once again was so strong that it essentially revived him on Tsurumi Island. This is why we were able to see two Ryus at once during the world quest. This also explains why he is unable to communicate with the rest of the apparitions on the island. Now, is this a true resurrection of Ryu? I don't think so, because when we take him to sing on Seirei Island, Ryu mentions that he feels extremely tired there. I believe that the magic that revived him draws upon the ley lines located on Tsurumi Island. So essentially, the farther he gets away from the Thunderbird's feathers and the island, the weaker Ryu will feel. Anyways, so now that Ryu is in a physical form, the Traveler and Paimon are able to take him to Seirei Island to dispel the curse and dark energy that settled on Tsurumi Island. The Thunderbird's desire to hear his song once again was so powerful that upon Ryu's return to the island, it was able to restore the Earman Soul Tree on Tsurumi, which effectively restored the ley lines on the island. This permanently removes the fog and allows us to explore the island without having to deal with getting lost in the fog. And yeah, that's pretty much the entire timeline and history of the Thunderbird. But before I close out this video, there were some fun facts that I learned along the way that really didn't fit into what I was talking about here, but I wanted to include anyways. So during my research, I came across a bunch of Reddit posts talking about Ryu's tribe and its connection to a real tribe located in Japan called the Ainu. A lot of what we learn in the lore is derived from their local legends, although much of it has been adapted to fit in with this Genshin storyline. The name Kapatsir is an Ainu name. The name is in reference to an animal known as the stellar sea eagle, from which the Thunderbird is based off of. These birds were especially important to the Ainu as their feathers were really useful in making arrows. Also, the behavior of these eagles is very similar to that of the Thunderbird. During the day, these eagles will fly over the ocean hunting for fish, similar to how each day the Thunderbird would fly from island to island in Inazuma. Though generally native to Japan, there are populations of this species of eagles that exist in northeast Russia. Now, during the winter, eagles in those areas will migrate down south to Japan, which seems to match the migratory pattern of the Thunderbird to Surumi Island. Sadly, during my research for this video, I found that populations of the stellar sea eagles have been on a steady decline, which makes me really sad because these are such awesome birds, and hopefully conservation efforts in the future will help restore populations of these awesome raptors. Anyways, that's it for today's video. I spent hours writing this video and cut out so much stuff that I wanted to say just because there was way too much to talk about. But yeah, I really enjoyed Tsurumi Island. What do you guys think about the Thunderbird? Let me know down in the comments below. Also, please like and subscribe if you like the videos because I'm looking to make more content like this, and hopefully I'm able to finish that mural video by the end of the week. Until next time, bye!